Hello everyone. So, quite recently I finished beating all the steeples and towers in Paradise Atoll, and I kind of wanted to give my rating on all of them. So, yeah, the disclaimer, I haven't really made these sorts of videos, and I don't really have an editing software, but I'm trying to do the best I can. So, yeah, if you like this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, maybe even subscribe. I want to get to 500 subscribers soon because that's when I get community posts. I've heard that YouTube chopped the limit of subscribers, so yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so we're starting off with the Steeple of Mystical Marine. Now, this Steeple, it's very fun. I like the gameplay in this, and it's used in very creative ways, like these bubbles. I like the idea of the castles and stuff, and how there's like corals and stuff everywhere to simulate the aquatic environment. I also like the idea of this castle right there and the button challenges. So yeah, overall, pretty solid steeple. I like it. On to the next one. Next up is the steeple of Sunny Island Shenanigans. Now, this this looks more like an open world game than a steeple, but it's executed quite well. Um, the islands and stuff, that concept is cool. And like having to find lots of keys and stuff to open up to the last floor. I think that's a very cool concept in itself. So yeah, great steeple. Um, it's quite creative. Like this thing where you push and make morphers spawn so you can get to the jump. Also, yeah, morphers are basically creative buttons, modern buttons nowadays. And overall, yeah, and this is a pretty solid steeple, though the last floor can be kind of punishing. So yeah, on to the next one. Okay, next one is the steeple of Abyssal Upturn. Now, the concept is kind of cool, like going from the depths, the bottom of the ocean, to ascend all the way up. It's a pretty cool concept, but the problem is how it's executed. Because, sorry for the sniffing, I have some allergies. But yeah, the problem with how the steeple is made is that the routing is kind of confusing, and it's not very good to sight read. And some parts can be especially tedious too. So honestly, I kind of don't like the steeple, but yeah, on to the next one. Next up is the steeple of Aquatic Rally. So I've heard that this steeple is a mega collab, and I'd say the gameplay flows very smoothly for it being made by like 15 people. But yeah, um, the colors are very simple, but they kind of fit. I also like the idea of going to the end, and then you have a water slide, and you go all the way down to the wind pad. However, since you like, if you fall in any of these, you get GBJ. So it does kind of have a punishing aspect to it, but at the same time, it's pretty well made. Um, it isn't like too heavily focused on design like a lot of the sequels here, but yeah, uh, it's a creative concept, and I like this. Anyway, on to the next one. Oh yeah, there were egg dogs in this place. Because this was one friend six's place. I don't know why they're there, but that's kind of funny. Alright, next up, Steeple of Desolate Isles. This one interesting thing about the steeple is that it's made by one of the developers of this game, which is Burchin, aka Urchin. Yeah, so yeah, this is very wacky frame. Uh, it's more like boxes than a steeple. Overall, the steeple's pretty solid, but the gameplay in some places is pretty questionable. I mean, when it was rated as difficult, yes, it's rated as challenging now. Um, some of these jumps are a little bit too complicated for that. I kind of give some points down because just some of the gameplay is kind of jank, and mostly the steep is good. But the main problem I have is with the final floor. When this was unnerfed, I had to do this. You had to do this part all without falling, and then if you fell all the way down, you lose all your progress. So basically, a final stretch type thing again. It's kind of infecting everywhere. Sadly, that's another kind of point I have to make. Kind of brings down the enjoyment a bit. Because it's not fun to, oops, you lose all your progress. But yeah, Steeple is alright. Could have been better, but it's definitely not the worst out there. Okay, this Steeple of hallucinatory spectacles. This is the next one, according to difficulty. Um, so I'll just go through my thoughts on it. So honestly, I'd say that this is my least favorite steeple in Paradise Atoll. I mean, the gameplay mostly is jank. Look at this. I mean, floor 1 and like, it also doesn't really fit being a summer steeple, not really. And some aspects of this are really punishing. Some aspects of this did not fit when it was rated as difficult. I'll try to show you one. For example, look at this like no jump kind of section. You have to walk all the way through this. And I can confidently say this does not fit in difficult. Not even in challenging, at least where this steeple's rated as of now. But yeah, there's a lot of difficulty spikes to it, and tries having war and stuff, and it's still pretty punishing. I kind of don't like this steeple. Yeah, I don't like this steeple. So in summary, the gameplay is jank. It tries having to be creative with war and stuff, but yeah, this could have been done better. Also, yeah, ice maze. But yeah, that's basically it. Okay, next up is our very first tower in the Paradise Atoll, which is the Tower of Cyclonic Isles. Now, personally, I like this tower. I'd say it's a pretty good tower. I think it's the very first tower to be made sideways, which is pretty cool. I also like there's some creativity in the fact that you're heading towards a hurricane and stuff. It fits alright for the summer theme, and there's some creative uses like this X-pusher used as a boat, and the tower is really fun to play through, like through the industrial part, and later on when there's like everything is getting windy and stuff. So yeah, the gameplay is alright. It didn't focus too much on design, but it's still decently made. But yeah, I really like this tower. Moving on. Okay, so next is the steeple of upright cliffs. Now, if I'm being completely honest, I'm going to say that honestly the Steeple is kind of lacking, no offense. It just doesn't have a lot of feel or atmosphere to it. The gameplay and stuff is decent. It's not too heavily focused on design. And no offense, but there isn't really a lot of creative uses. I mean, yeah, there's the there's the part where you have to limit the number of your jumps. I guess that's creative. The Steeple is overall like very, very average. I don't really know what to say, but there are some annoying parts like this beat block moving platforms thing, as well as let me look for it. I think there's a beat block X pusher somewhere you have to push all the way to there. Perhaps I'm wrong. Yeah, but that was annoying. The Steeple is alright, but it could have been done better. I'd say it's sort of average. Let's move on. Okay, next is the Steeple upright list. So, personally, this Steeple it's pretty good. It's definitely not focused on creativity the most. I mean, the gameplay and stuff is still pretty cool. It's pretty decently made, and there are a few parts where it's not just, you know, purest parkour and oh, you just have to get to the top of the Steeple. Definitely has some creative moments like this. And also, the puzzles are kind of random, but they're not too hard. Also, I like the idea of scaling above cliffs and stuff. However, it is kind of punishing for its placement. But yeah, I don't think I have much to say. It's pretty mediocre, but it fits the job well. And yeah, I'd say this is one of the least focused on design and creativity Steeples, which I kind of like. I mean, I respect like going against the trend, and I respect going against the trend and actually putting work into your gameplay, because no matter how good your design and creativity is, gameplay I feel is the most important aspect. And the gameplay is pretty well, though it's kind of hard in some places. So yeah. Okay, next up is our last tower in Paradise Atoll, which is the Tower of Traversing the Tropics. Personally, I'd say this tower is pretty well made. The gameplay is somewhat jank though, which can be improved. But overall, I really like it's creative in its mixed progression, half going up, and it's used in a creative way too. Not just like, oh, you just go down because I want it to be creative, but yeah, there's a reason you can go down to get the scuba gear and progress downwards, which is one creative aspect of this whole, you know, this tower. The creativity and stuff, I really like the puzzles in the beginning, in both the top and bottom floors. Let me see if I can find the first puzzle. Yeah, like where you have to move all of those and press the button so a truss can open. And also there's various fun challenges and puzzles down in the descending floors, which is really nice. So yeah, I don't really have much to say. Moving on. Alright, so next we have the Steeple of Underlying Breezes. An interesting thing about this Steeple is that it's made by the creator of the Tower of Yearning Victory. I know I copied, sorry experts, I know this from your video, but it shows how he improved, like in his building style. Well, yeah, I'd say this Steeple is pretty well made. Some of the gameplay is questionable at times and kind of jagged, so I'll kind of give that a like half of. I'll kind of take some points off for that. But overall, it's pretty great. My main problem with this is that how punishing the Steeple is. I mean, the concept of all the gameplay being under this giant umbrella is really creative. It's something that I can respect. I know that thankfully there are checkpoints, but it's still really punishing for a high challenging. I'd argue that this is harder than Steeple of Dusty Juke, which we'll get to later. But some of the floors, especially this floor, like, hang on, I still have. Okay, anyway, my point is that some of the floors are yeah, the Steeple as a whole is pretty punishing. I'd say that because of that, I'd say it's harder than. I'd argue this belongs more in a intense. I feel like it belongs more in intense. So yeah, I don't really have anything more to say, but I really like the Steeple, though it was very annoying at times. It was pretty nice. So yeah, moving on. Okay, last one on our list, Steeple of Dusty Jewels. Now, this Steeple is, you know, I kind of don't like the Steeple either. It's alright. Some of the gameplay again is kind of bad. And sometimes the traps aren't really well indicated. Like, these are elevators that will fling you off. I know that stuff like these shovers and things are kind of used excessively. Some of these jumps are jank, like these button jumps and this button jump. That's not the worst part of this Steeple though. There's stuff like this pushing platform shover thing, and there's things like these which aren't really well indicated at all. Like, look at this. You could you could just get lucky or you can get flunked. Like, this isn't well indicated at all. Like, you get flunked and stuff. However, the biggest thing I hate about this Steeple is this last part. Back then, these used to be very rigged and very fast. Like, you could just slide off because of how rigged these things are. And see, look at that. And I think I had to suffer through that for a while. Luckily, in game, that has been fixed. Still doesn't excuse that part though. Overall, it's meh. I kind of don't like it. Could have been done better, but yeah. Okay, so that's the end of my ranking video. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry if my commentary and stuff is lackluster. I did this totally unscripted and stuff, and I don't really have an editing software, but I'm trying to do the best I can, you know. So if you like this video, be sure to go ahead, give it a like, give it a sub, and we're getting close to 5. No, we're not close to 500 subscribers, but thank you everyone for 400 subscribers. Let's get to 500 so I can get community and posts and stuff. So yeah, goodbye.